You're live, yep.
Good morning and welcome to Gruber Power Services Power Hour. We're looking forward to a great show today. Hopefully we get a lot of participation from our audience. That's what we're most interested in. Feel free to ask any question, provide your perspective on any topic really in the UPS field. We are going to be discussing a few things, but feel free to go outside of that box if you choose to. Really interested in your observations, your experiences, and of course, your questions. My name is Claude Dixon, and Houston, we already have a problem.
You turned the button on, right?
Of course I turned the button on. Why wouldn't I turn the button on?
Okay, but which button? Is it, did you do the button?
Are you serious? You really want me to turn that button on? There is no way I'm going to reach down there and turn that button on.
Well, I mean...
Oh, wait. Hold on. Somebody's calling in here. Hello? Oh, our special guest did make it today. Well, that's awesome. Thank you very much, because it appears AI Pete has malfunctioned. So Elvis is now in the building. Thank you. Hi, Elvis.
Made
How's it
it.
going, Claude?
Man, you're a lifesaver. You are an absolute lifesaver. AI Pete, we tried, Jesse.
Yeah, I mean, he did his best.
So, but thank you. I was sweating it here when I got the phone call that you weren't going to be able to make it. And all of a sudden, Elvis shows up. Elvis is in the building. We already have a comment up there about you. It's from Perseverance YouTube. It says, "Good morning, Elvis." So Elvis, hey, Elvis Venter, by the way. Elvis does work for us. He's an account manager in Gruber Power Services. And Elvis, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on the show. First of all, good morning, Perseverance. I'm going to have to figure that out later, who that is. So, yeah, just a quick Master King says LOL. We have people chiming in already, which I love. Yeah, so just a quick rundown and just to tell you a little bit about myself. So I've been in the IT world for over 11 years now, and going on 12. And the first 5 years was a good data center experience. I did a lot of management throughout the data center. So when I transitioned and shifted to UPS, it wasn't something that I was familiar with, and I didn't realize what a big world the UPS world is. Even though I was in data centers for 5 years, I walked through those UPSs not even knowing and not acknowledging them. And then coming into this field and space for the last good 6 years right now, it's been it's been really fun, really exciting. Being part of the Gruber team has been a breath of fresh air for me, and it's really great to see what Gruber has to offer and what the UPS world is. And it's so overlooked by certain people, which they wouldn't even understand it and really fathom. So I'm excited for this show that it's touching all types of people and audiences, and a passion you have to teach it and to explore it. So yeah, for me, I love IT. I love all aspects of it. I keep learning myself. I keep growing. I'm a part-time engineer when I can for other groups, and I just keep learning. I'm a tech guy for the family, for church. So
and I
like it.
I also hear that you're quite the parts guy. I mean, you're like completely enveloped in that, have some great experiences there, knowledgeability of parts, specifically with the older technology of UPS. You've been around, you've dismantled units, taken them apart, done inventory, and it's just done phenomenal things for your knowledge, which is something that we're going to be talking about.
Correct. So yes, in the UPS parts section, I had a very unique start that they basically, my old employer, I worked there, and they brought me in front of a unit and they said, strip it down. I was like, okay. So they gave me some tools, some power tools, and I just learned from working with the guts and the insides of the unit on what a UPS is and how it functions in a different way. So I started in a way where probably more engineers are on the tech side of really working the parts and inventorying them and really becoming very familiar with them. And that's been a good 6 years now. And yeah, I love UPS parts. It's a phenomenal aspect of the business, and I love how much it's taught me and grown. And it's a great part of the business.
Okay. Well, let's tap off some of your experiences. We're going to go into product knowledge, but before we do that, we got a couple of things up here. A couple of comments from Sons Fan for Life. The King is in the building. LOL. Yeah, you got a great first name, by the way.
Yeah.
That's like perfect. YouTube, Gabe Popa. All I have to say is I don't have one bad memory of Elvis throughout the 20 plus years. Gotta like that.
Yeah, it's good, dude.
Steven, help me with that.
Georgiou.
I'm a big fan of UPS. FedEx done did me wrong too many times. Hey, Steven, don't feel bad. 14 years ago when I started working here, well, not when I started working here, but when I was going through the process of interviewing, when I first heard UPS, I thought the same exact thing. The brown truck running around. So don't feel bad about that. I think that's an awesome comment.
So quick side note with Steven. So Gabe, I've known all my life, a good buddy of mine. Steven is someone that actually worked in UPS. I brought him on years ago and he started building batteries. So he didn't do good on going incognito on his name, and he did that on purpose. But he's actually familiar with UPS because he used to build battery modules all the time. A quick side note, Drew Morris, that's one of my IT mentors for a good many years, one of the best I've ever known, and he's a phenomenal IT guru, in my opinion.
And that was a comment from YouTube that just came in that Elvis is referencing Drew Morris. Yeah. So let's get into it, Elvis. I mean, I know you have a lot of, good knowledge and input to provide on just the product itself. And let's try to stay specific to UPS, just the knowledge, the familiarity, and optimization of it. What are some of your thoughts there?
So for parts, it kind of goes hand in hand with like car parts. So people can get an idea is you're not always going to want to buy new. You're going to want to keep what you have. You might grow familiar, comfortable with the UPS you have. A lot of people don't want to always sell it, don't want to replace it. And you get comfortable with that. You get comfortable with the performance of it, of how it operates, and you rely on it. So parts is a crucial part for UPS because it goes hand in hand with the same concept as vehicles. A lot of people just want to keep taking care and just keep replacing parts on their car, their tires, their brakes, whatever needs, so the car can still function and operate. For parts in the UPS, it's very important, and there's some very crucial parts that just keep that unit going and functioning at a high performance. And there's a few little basic ones. It's the boards, there's fans, and really fuses. So those are the big parts to where keeps the unit going, and the display. You need something to look at. You need something to know, just like the display on your phone. You need at all times. So for UPS parts, for me, what I've realized, boards is huge. That's just this circuit board. Right. And there's many different varieties of the boards for the UPS. So what's great in that part space and for Gruber is they have all types. Right. I mean, I've seen parts from many different groups, and seeing what Gruber offers and the parts, and the laundry list is so long with Gruber. I haven't seen such a phenomenal inventory. Well,
excellent. The one thing I want to add to this too is just the educational aspect of it. You go back to the 80s when the internet didn't exist. You basically had to go out and, like you said, tear down a piece of equipment to figure out how it operates, how it works, that kind of thing. But nowadays, you can just go to the internet. You can just, type in whatever the part is in Google. It will tell you what the function of it is. Bring up a diagram where it goes into the, UPS. And product knowledgeability, which is one of the things that we talked about here. I've seen that both on the customer side and on the account manager side, where if you're not up to speed, there could be a potential breakdown.
Yes. So that is very important. Product knowledge. experience on the equipment and the parts is very important. What's the point of a board?
Right.
There's many different purposes and functionalities of a PCB, which is called a printed circuit board. And that's just your basic, if you can even imagine in your mind, just a normal circuit board, the green with all the little metal pieces in it. So that is very important to know as an account manager, someone in the UPS space and field, to know your parts. And the more you know, it facilitates and takes a lot of burden off the customer. And a lot of the times they have no idea what it is.
Right,
it has to be an engineer or someone more on the technical side to know what the parts are.
Right. Or it could just be a new person.
Yeah.
You know, new person just getting into the field. I'm talking end users now that just started in the job. Yeah, they might have a college education, the book training and all that, but the hands-on and experience part of it is missing. And you have to like be in a position to educate that person, to get them up to speed.
Correct.
Yeah.
So for parts, to know your product, to know what the function is of a fan, what's the whole point of a fuse, what's the whole point of a breaker, which is basically in the most simple form is a switch. It's powered on. Breakers to switch something on and off. And to know that is just, it's a big advantage for the account manager, for the engineer, for someone when they know all the nooks and crannies of a UPS. And parts is, that's my bread and butter.
What are your thoughts on the environment that we're in? You know, I'm not sure about your background in terms of the industry and what product line you focused on, but in our business, our niche business is a mixed vendor environment. So we've got all across the board here. We've got a UPS that we're servicing in the field that was manufactured in 1998, all the way up into present day, 2022. We have a few of those that are coming off the manufacturer's warranty now that we're beginning to service. Mixed vendor. And the last time I checked, we did, I like numbers, so I like look at things. We perform maintenance on 66 different models of UPS. Okay, so what are your thoughts there? Have you run into any issues or problems in your articulation to the customer because of the environment and niche market that we're in?
So for the environment, if you're talking about physical, it's just like a data center anywhere else. The unit has to be in a good, nurturing, good standing place. That's the first thing. The UPS can't be in your garage. And no fans or anything. It has to be in a good, cooled climate.
We're going to go into that. I'm so glad you're hitting that. We're going to hit the uptime.
It can't be in your storage unit.
Exactly.
That's a little sketchy.
But here's the thing. We have service sites where it is.
Yeah.
Or it's outside in a warehouse and it's 110. I mean, like right now, we've been plus 100, for a couple weeks here?
Yeah.
And I know of systems, well, not systems, but battery cabinets that are in warehouses right now in a non-air conditioned environment.
So condition of where the unit is also a big factor in what condition the parts will be in and the parts we acquire. Basic example is when someone's looking for comics or cards, they want to see, is it in mint condition? Is it in good standing condition? So that matters a lot. For parts, I realized the way Gruber takes parts and catalogs and stores them is really important on the quality of that part.
Right.
So when we get parts, even if it's from a UPS from 2000, 2001, once we acquire those parts and they're tested and we store them correctly and we inventory them and we watch them and they're in a good environment, which your place was Disneyland for me. Side note, when I came here the first time and Justin brought me into the parts room, I was like, I don't want to get out of here. This was phenomenal.
Yeah, let me hit you with something here. You talked about the testing part. That's important.
That's key.
We want to make sure it works. But the other part of it too is the cosmetics, the appearance of it, and some of the things that we do in order to make that part look as new as possible. And sometimes the part will test good, but the board is brown and we discard it.
Correct.
You know, because from a visual standpoint, a customer will get that and say, what did you sell me here?
Agreed.
Yeah.
So that is important. Yes, the aesthetics and the look of the part is very important because with parts and batteries, there's a lot of physical evidence. You can see if it's swollen, if something happens, if it leaves any marks, literally like a blueprint. It'll leave, like a crime scene. Like you can look on a part and be like, man, that thing was destroyed.
Exactly.
I mean, I opened up a unit one time and years ago, and we found rats living in the unit. And it was like, it looked great for them. It didn't look good for us.
Nice coverage for them, huh?
Yeah, it was a great condo. But the unit looked brutal.
Yeah.
And then even all the parts were like, yep, we got to scrap the whole thing and call it for what it is.
Right.
So it is really important on the condition of the parts, how you test them, like you said, how you store them, and how you manage them. It's very
and
important.
the handling part of it too. You don't want to stack, circuit boards on top of circuit boards.
That's why we have the static bags.
Exactly.
Side note. Yeah,
exactly.
you can't just put them like pots and pans.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
So Elvis, we have a couple of comments up here from YouTube. We have the EV fan. How long do parts or a UPS last? Like replaced every other year or longer? You want to take that? Or
I'd love to take that. So for the UPS parts, my personal experience, and knock on this good wood, everything we've replaced through Gruber, and in my experience, the boards can last you 5 years or more. I have not had to replace because a part that we sold, a brand new fan, a functioning fuse, we didn't have to replace it in a month or a year. When it comes to performance of it, if it's the wrong part, that's a different story, but they last. I have not had to replace in my 6+ years now of selling parts. I haven't had to replace one of my parts that I can remember from memory right now. They last at least 5 years or more.
And here's the other thing, just to add to what you're saying. We're making an assumption, and it sounds like it's proving out based off what Elvis just said, that the environment that these parts are going into is at specification.
Exactly.
From a temperature standpoint, because it's just like the tires on your car. You can have your tires last for 60,000 miles, or you can have them last for 30,000 miles. A lot of it depends on how you drive, who the driver is, and the environment, the terrain that you're driving on. The UPS isn't any different with the parts or the batteries. You have a UPS in an environment that's hot, those parts aren't going to last as long. To answer your question on the replacement of the UPS, the end of life on a UPS is rated at 12 years end of life. And that doesn't mean that the unit's going to crash and burn at 12. That just means that's what that OEM's projection is.
That means the new group that manufacture that unit, that's how long they support the unit.
Exactly.
That's what it means. For us, we have units in play for 15, 20, 30 years. A few months ago, I went to Mason. I took a unit that was 30 years out, and it was working phenomenally. He just wanted to change his load.
Yeah.
But it worked great. When we tested it, it worked phenomenal. We took all the parts out, and now everything we can reutilize all those parts.
And the killer thing is with that, too, is the point you made about being 30 years. We're servicing UPSs that are from 1998, and I'll mention a couple of models. The AP356, it's a Liebherr product.
Oh yeah,
that thing is an absolute workhorse.
That's a beast.
The PowerWare 9315, the old one, 25 years old, absolute workhorse. Some of the newer stuff that's been coming out as of late doesn't last as long.
No.
It's not as hardy. It's not as robust. Now it's more energy efficient than the old stuff. But in terms of lasting, you're into a replacement scenario a lot sooner.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. It's a true statement you've made because it happens a lot.
Yeah. So look at this. So YouTube. Okay, I can't pronounce that one. Benjamin?
That's Benjamin.
Okay.
In Romanian, Benjamin. That's my bread and butter.
Okay. And then YouTube, another comment or question from Master King, refurbished or new parts. So I'm assuming that the Master King from Arabia is talking about what we sell our customers. It can be a combination. It depends on whether or not that part is available. If the part is not available, we have no other choice but to go new, to go to the OEM, purchase the part, and install it. But in most cases, the part is refurbished, and Elvis did a good job of walking us through what that process is to ensure that part is going to work and last in that UPS.
Yeah.
And then another comment from the Banana Man: would it be possible to use Tesla battery modules in a UPS? Pros and cons. Want to address that one? See, here's the thing with that one. AI Pete isn't here.
Nope.
Oh, not AI Pete. I'm sorry. Our fearless leader isn't here. He's gallivanting right now in Europe with his wife for the next 3 weeks. And that question right there is definitely up Pete's alley. He would be able to give you a serious diatribe on that. So we'll pause on that one and get an answer for you on the next podcast.
Yeah, that's fair. I wouldn't want to answer that because I'm not too familiar with all the Tesla.
Yeah.
Pete would know.
And let me go ahead and throw this out there too. You know, Elvis and I are not experts. This is this podcast we're trying to use as a medium for conversation and participation. And there may be things out there that you guys know that we don't, that you can share with us, because, you know, we want to turn this into something that's educational, something that's fun, like the beginning kind of like skit that we did with AI Pete, you know, to draw people in and so people have fun with it. So feel free to provide your own perspective and your own input on the subject matter that we're talking about. Okay, we have one here from Instagram, Sauce Domains. I like the Tesla in the foreground.
Yeah, he said they can. Instagram is on that little phone down there. They can see that Tesla.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a little red Tesla in front of me. You can't see it on the screen, but yeah, it is a beautiful car. I believe Pete said that's the latest one, right? The latest Roadster?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a 2022 Roadster. I don't believe this thing is on the market yet, but this is the prototype right here. It's going to be an awesome car. I think he said 0 to 60 in 1.8 seconds.
That's what I'm hoping Pete gets me one day. Just saying.
Yeah, and then it says, how many UPSs would you need to power a Walmart? Great question.
So that's a phenomenal question because it goes into part what we're going to talk about later for your data centers and your tiers, and you kind of take take a certain approach of how to assess a location, assess the the power use. So for Walmart, even if it was a Walmart or let's say a Starbucks.
Yeah.
It all depends on what you're trying to power.
Exactly.
So
your VA.
Yes, it really depends on what you're trying to keep backed up and running at all times. So if you're trying to do an entire Walmart, it's not just the Walmart. Is it the PA system? Is it the computers? Is it the phone systems?
Point
the
of sale.
electrical? It's many different things. So for a Walmart, it all depends. Like any other thing, what are you trying to? Just like a data centers, for like a Starbucks. Starbucks are way smaller, but what are they trying to power?
Exactly. And just to segue on what Elvis is talking about there, when he asked the question, what are they trying to power? You know, each device in any operation, pretty much all of them, if you look at the back of it, there's a data plate that has the VA associated, the volt amperes associated with that device. And what you're going to do is you're going to start the sizing process to determine what it is you may need. So you would add up the VA from that device, this device, and you come up with a total, and then you go from there. And then that will dictate what size UPS you would want to purchase to bring into that facility to support your critical load.
So how many UPSs? It could be, I mean, even that is a very technical question because one UPS, it could be a 250 kVA, a 1,000, which is a megawatt.
Right. It powers that computer right there.
Exactly. Or it could be a megawatt. It could be huge.
Yeah.
So one UPS, or how many UPSs? One large UPS. I had just had a customer that we did when you're talking about the power modules.
Yeah.
It was technically 2 UPSs, but they were a megawatt. They were 1,000 kVA. So
that's huge.
That's only 2 PCs. The footprint, all that is different, but on how many, it also depends what UPS you're utilizing for the kVA,
right?
And how many, because you can have a bunch of smart ups. You can have 500 smart ups in a location, depending what it is backing up and what it is connected to.
Right, and that the smart up hole, that's an APC product, and it could be a 500 VA unit, and pretty much you guys have probably seen these types of units. It's the little plug and play UPS that you just plug in by your workstation, and if the power goes out, your workstation is going to stay up, but not the other person. So typically what you see is there might be 50 of these things in an office setting that are supporting each workspace. Okay, so that is an interesting question. How many do you need? A lot of it depends on what you're trying to do. So we have Tay Fraley from YouTube. What do you guys think is the future for the UPS unit? Ever a solar powered option? Well, I can go right into this one.
Favorite question. One of my favorite questions.
I think the
time.
future is seriously bright, and we're going to get into that one right now. We're going to transition to the grid, the power grid. I'm sure everybody has heard about the power grid, but there's some interesting things associated with this. And just to address your question, this is what I mean about what's going to dictate the future. Think of what's going on in the EV market right now. Okay, there is a lot going on. Last year in America, there were 14 million vehicles like trucks and passenger cars sold in America. The EVs were 6.4% of that.
Wow.
Okay? The government has a goal by 2030 of being at 40% EV. So where are these EVs going to plug into?
No.
What are they plugging into? They're plugging into the grid. Into the grid. The combustion engine is going away, and I'm going to plug into my grid is coming. It's coming. It's coming. So imagine that stress that it's going to put on the electrical system.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I say the UPSs are here to stay is because we're not ready for it. Okay. For example, in 2000,
the infrastructure.
Right. The infrastructure. In 2021, EV represented 2.2% of all the cars sold in America. A year later, it's 6.4.
It's growing.
Okay. And it's growing at a rapid rate because that's like 3 times. So these folks are plugging into the grid, straining the power grid. And you may think that there's only one, but there's actually 5 power grids in America.
But a quick thing before we get into this stuff, and I want to touch on that. What Tay Fraley also asked. First thing is, I'm going to ask this before we get into the more nitty gritty. What's the point of a UPS? Why UPSP? Claude, why? Why do we need a UPS? What is the point?
Do you put any value in your data? Okay. Do you put any value in preventing your data from being corrupted as you're working or losing it altogether? Because our power grid is not reliable. You can clearly see that in California with the number of brownouts that they have in California. It's not reliable. But the need for it is going to become greater and greater and greater as time goes on. So that need for a UPS, data. You're running a full-scale manufacturing operation, and you're just running on AC, alternating current, and you have no backup battery, and you live in Arizona where we have monsoon season and lightning strikes.
Yep.
You would be remiss if you didn't have a UPS system. What do you think about that?
That's a good answer. What I'm always thinking about is when something powers down, something powers off, what's next? So that's a big part for UPS. And I asked that just to open up the conversation and, always educate myself and others. But a big part is I always think like, what if a power outage? What if something goes down in your house?
I can tell you what's next. I can tell you what's next. In Arizona, you know what's next? A lot of wind, a lot of rain. And guess what? You're not making any money. That's what's true. Next. Okay, because
for the monsoon season you're talking about?
Exactly.
My kid's been praying for that rain to come down already.
And those brownouts that run across California, it's 115 degrees outside. I know when you go home, the first thing you do when you go home is you go to that thermostat and you go tick, 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 tick. That thing was running at 75. You tick that thing all the way down to 70 degrees.
Side note, me and my wife are fighting on the 78 to 70. For me, it's kind of an icebox. For her, it's like, she's always trying to go the up number 77 and up.
But you're not the only one doing that.
That's true.
Okay, so now you add electric vehicles to this mix.
That's layers on layers of how much we need backup. Right. And to go to that question, if you don't mind, for the UPS, what do you guys think of the future? I think it's still very crucial. And let me touch on this really quickly, if you don't mind. And here's the reason is because I've talked to so many different types of businesses. I've spoken to large size businesses, medium size, and small size. And the smaller and the medium size, some of them have been going more to the cloud because the cloud can handle that. But a lot of people don't understand the cloud is still reliant and dependent off of data centers, co-locations.
What is a cloud? Wait, can the cloud be shut down?
Well, my kid will be talking about rain clouds. The cloud we're talking about is the digital world that everyone's trying to jump in on. The digital world that now we don't have to store physical. We can store within a internet-based, web-based digital world our data.
Okay.
But the problem with that, with a lot of people, is the security. How many times have we seen on the news someone got breached? Target, this and this, because it is in the cloud. So even though the smaller to medium size go, they're still dependent because there's a data center, there's a physical location, there's huge data centers. Some of the biggest ones in the world are in Vegas. We have big ones here. In Vegas, I've been to some, and Vegas has some of the ones for Facebook and some large ones. So UPS is always going to be critical because on the big scale, it's needed more than everything, because our Facebooks, our Instagrams, they are run off of data centers where there's large UPSs powering that and generators.
The point you made about attacks, cyber attacks,
huge.
Okay, it happens every day. So
all the time.
So what does that tell us? Just the average layman like myself. What does that tell me? It tells me that we're not thinking this stuff through. If you can come up with a cloud where you're storing your data, and somebody breaches that thing 5 months later, and all your data is lost, that tells me we're not thinking these things out. Same thing with the grid. We're behind in the infrastructure and the modernization of the grid. That process is a snail's pace compared to how we're adding vehicles to it. So, it could crash and burn.
Agreed. I appreciate the physical, just like having a physical safe compared to a digital or a internet safe, let's say, where you store like a bank, or you store all your security there, your information. I prefer, like anyone else, a physical safe. If it's like, for example, a gun safe, having that physical thing. That the UPS is the physical aspect of keeping everything powered on, so your data is always intact it's safe.
By the way, I told you what I'm doing. Didn't I tell you? I told you what I'm doing. When we go hike on these backcountry trails, I'm digging holes. I dig holes and I bury stuff out there.
I already know your go-to cave that you've been putting provisions and gear. Every time we go hiking, you always look at a cave like that'd be a good one to store stuff.
Exactly. You never know.
You're going old school. You're going. You're gonna go off the grid. At least I know where to find you.
Yeah.
But that's the reality of it. Is UPS is still so crucial and dependent and needed, because it goes hand in hand with a more popular product everyone knows is a generator.
Yes.
So UPS and generators are not going to be obsolete. They're still used. And the reason I know UPS is still very used all the time is because we have a company called Gruber that we have so many account managers constantly selling to all types of businesses. So, and we're not discontinuing them. We are constantly backing them up. We have the service side where they're keeping the UPS going, and then they want a new one, an updated one, refurbished, whatever the case is. Scalable one. So the landscape of UPS, I still see that is still really growing.
I completely agree with you. Okay, let's look at this one. YouTube fan, EV fan, interesting. I thought a UPS powered the entire building, not specific items. Good info.
It can do a number of things.
Yeah.
It's like a Swiss Army knife. It can do many different things, and you want to dedicate, and it's up to you on what you want to dedicate it for. Is really important.
Yeah. Got another one up here from YouTube, Clint Clothier. Love the information, fellas. Thank you, Clint. Thanks a lot. One from Instagram, One Hungry Clippo. Klepto?
Clippo. Yeah.
One Hungry Klepto? Clippo. Okay.
Probably like One Hungry Hippo, but Clippo.
I want to meet that guy if he's One Hungry Klepto. I'll tell you that right now. But how long does a UPS last if the power goes out? Is there a UPS for UPS? Yes. Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you the first question, because that's not a yes answer. That is an explanation. If the power goes out, that is an explanation. But is there a UPS for UPS? That is an absolute yes. And that's exactly what we're going to be going into next. The uptime tiers. There's 4 of them. And before I go into that, the Uptime Institute is based in New York. It is the only organization that is approved to certify a data center. Okay? And we're going to go into that, what that means in a second. This organization services 100 different countries around the globe. Now, to get one of these analyses complete, you're looking at anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 to have this organization go in and make sure that you are legit in 3 areas: in the UPS, in the air conditioning, and in the generator. Okay, so let's answer his question. But how long does a UPS last? Again, It's really variable. It really, really is. Typically, you're looking at 12 years, but that is an OEM scenario. And like Elvis pointed out, that really is due with support. The OEM will stop supporting the UPS. And as time goes on, those parts become, more and more difficult to find because they stop making them. But I've seen UPSs that, like I said, we're still servicing them 30 years in the field.
The one we took
years.
out.
Yeah.
From Mesa, they had it for 30 years.
Yes.
And the guy's been running his business a good 35 years. So that one in Mesa, my customer, that unit was operating for 25 years exactly for them. And then they came into a modular, which we've spoken about, 2 different types of UPSs. And modular can last longer too, because it's basically a box, a metal frame, and you can constantly replace, and in a more user-friendly
and it's
situation, scalable, and almost anyone can use. So a UPS can last you 10 years, 15 years, 20, 30, 40. The number goes for a long time. Now, modular, my experience, lasts longer. Component is the one, if it's a 10 kVA, it stays a 10 kVA. You can't do 15 or less or more. That's what component means compared to a modular. That's exactly what it is. Modular, you can go up and down.
Yes, and the user friendliness of a modular UPS,
I love it. It's my
is
favorite.
light years above the component UPS. You can troubleshoot that thing over the phone.
Oh, yeah.
Another question within the same Instagram person that's listening, if the power goes out, how long does the UPS last? Well, it's not really the UPS, it's the battery system.
It's the batteries
within the UPS, and there's a lot of variables there. So let's start with sensory. Heat. Heat. We have a spec.
How hard the battery is working.
Exactly.
Is what you mean, yeah.
Yeah, we have a temperature spec, an ambient temperature spec of 77 degrees plus or minus 5. If the ambient temperature in that room is oscillating between there, you should get the industry standard out of your battery, which is 3 years. But some of it has to do with temperature. If it's like above that, you could cut the battery life down by 5 and you haven't even used the battery. And what I mean by use the battery, cycled the battery, where you actually needed it to come online, the battery power to come online, it runs for a little while. AC, the alternating current comes back through the source, and then you're off battery. But the number of cycles that occur affect the life of the battery, how long it's going to last. Also, how deep that cycle is. You could run it all the way to the end and lose your load because you ran out all the energy that was in the battery. The other thing that affects it is the number of batteries. How many cabinets? How many battery modules? You could have, if you have a generator, you could only have 3 minutes of battery runtime, just enough time for the system to kick over. And waiting on the generator to start up, they sync together, system comes on, you're still protected. Or you could have no generator and run forever, run 4 or 5 hours if you have that.
Exactly. And if the power goes out, it's what Claude was saying is the battery size and how many batteries you have. So that's called runtime, is what an account manager will ask their customer, how much runtime are you looking for?
Right.
What are you trying to, if it's just to bridge the gap for the generator turn on, or you don't have a generator and you need a certain amount. I've had customers say, I need 4 hours of runtime. So that means cabinets and cabinets of batteries within the battery modules. And that is what can give you an hour and 45, a 30-minute runtime, a 2 hours, a 3 hours. Right now, I have one customer running at about 2 hours of runtime because he's only using a very minimal kVA power, and he's using a lot more. So with that, he has good 2 hours until they fix it, or he has 2 generators parallel running. So he's thought about it all. Great setup, but it's that same concept. How long, when your power goes out for the UPS to work, it's all about how many batteries you have inside there,
and the health of those batteries.
Exactly. Yeah. And you were also saying 3 years is the industry expectation standard. You have some high-end batteries off the top of my head, like a CSB, can go 8 to 10 guaranteed.
Exactly.
Phenomenal battery.
The other thing too is if you're not transferring, if you're not using them, and you're keeping them properly charged in the proper environment, there's a lot of variables. Those things will last 8 years.
They can.
Yeah, and it's a significant investment. I mean, 103 amp hour batteries, they weigh about 80 pounds. I mean,
heavy.
A string of 40 in a cabinet, you're looking at $10,000, of an investment. So you have 4 of those. Say you have 4 of those cabinets, you're looking between $35,000 and $40,000. So you want to protect that investment when you buy batteries.
Yeah, very important. And the quality, the battery you get.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about Duracell.
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking about like very high-end UPS batteries designated and manufactured and spec'd out for a UPS.
See, that was me. That was me 14 years ago.
You wanted a Duracell?
No. That was me 14 years ago when someone was talking to me about batteries. I was thinking, how many of these damn things am I going to need? 100,000 of these?
I know, right?
But see, because I didn't know that they were making huge batteries.
Yeah. You don't need a little Duracell battery. Not for this. Sorry.
Exactly. Okay. The other part of that question is there a UPS for UPS? And the answer is yes. We call that 2N. And what I mean by 2N is that you have a backup for a backup, meaning if you have a power problem and that first system drops the load, there is a backup system that takes over so the critical load remains protected. So yes, but now you're getting into high dollars. And let me talk about the system for a second. When I say system, I'm talking about really three things. I'm talking about the UPS itself. I'm talking about the air conditioning, because you got to have that in the room. And I'm also talking about a generator. And what I have found in my 14 years here, many of the customers we service are not at basic capacity.
No.
That's what that is. What the three, devices that I just talked about, that's basic capacity. Yeah. That's what you should have just basically. Now, again, I'm talking about industrial type stuff. I'm not talking about your home. I'm just talking about, big manufacturing operation. Really should have some redundancy and just not be at basic capacity.
And the UPS to UPS, that is a reality and it's done. But a lot of times if you have a generator, you got to remember that once the generator turns on, the UPS is no longer needed because the generator is taking front row. Right. So you can have the UPS for UPS, but you don't necessarily need that if you have a generator, because it's all about the generator at that point.
But when it comes to power loss, though, you have the generator to keep you running.
It does.
But it's still a single point of failure.
It is.
Because of the feed going in. Correct. It's a single feed, no matter. The 2N example I gave you is a multi-feed.
That's,
huge difference there.
Correct.
Day and night difference. And of course, the dollars you're talking for a 2N solution, you're talking millions of dollars at that point of investment.
Correct.
Yeah. So Instagram, sauce domains, Amazon cloud services, let's go. What is that?
Let's go. Cloud for life. He's loving it. He's all about it. I have a mixed feeling. I like the cloud, but then I have certain things. And with cloud, it's also a business now, because you realize every time you go to the cloud, they're like, oh, you're running out of memory. Don't forget to buy more. Yeah. So it's still a business, and they're pushing that, and that's smart, but it's still a business, the cloud. And it has only so much security. So again, with the cloud, I understand its purposes and the marketing and the benefits and the utilization of it and minimizing the footprint. Mm-hmm. But I see the purposes of it, but then there's a pros and cons, because I'm so familiar and comfortable with what UPS do.
Right.
So I get what he's saying, but he's pushing that. He probably works for Amazon.
Yeah. Before we get to the next few questions, I want to get back real quick to the Uptime Institute, because the only tier that we have discussed right now is basic capacity. There's actually 3 other ones, and they go up in price. So you have tier 2, which is redundant capacity components. They call this N+1. So if you're familiar with a modular unit, you've heard this term, N+1, where there is an extra component that will come on in the event that a primary component fails. Correct. That's what N+1 is. But here's the thing. It is somewhat of a backup, but the feed is still single. So you can still lose power. You have to plan your shutdown. You can lose the power unexpectedly. It's not fault tolerant. Makes sense?
It does.
And then you have tier 3, which is concurrently maintainable. And that's what I had mentioned earlier about 2N. So that's having two separate systems, but one is backing up the other one. So you have 2 generators, one backing up one. You have 2 UPSs, one backing up one. And believe it or not, you have 2 AC systems, one backing up one, to give you a 2N solution. And multi-feed, that's critical. So you lose the source here, you still got a source coming in this way that's going to keep you running, okay, versus the single feed. The first 2 tiers are single feed, and you can drop. The other thing that's cool about this too, concurrently maintainable, is that you can do maintenance.
Yep.
and not shut down your critical
That's
load
fair.
because it's on the other UPS
You
while
have
you're
two of them.
performing.
That's a phenomenal point for someone that doesn't want to go down, or God forbid, now you have one keeping you going, and then you can take care of the other one. And it goes in hand with the Master King, where, if you don't mind for me to read it, it is
Who would come up with a name? Who would come up with a name like Master King? That sounds like something from Arabia, doesn't it?
I guess,
Yeah. Hey, I'm loving it though.
We'll try to figure them out later.
I'm loving the Master King.
But it is important. Maybe it is, or is it? But it is important for data centers to achieve impressive. Correct. It is very important. That's why Claude was going down the different tiers designated for data centers. How important data centers rely, because data centers is what we live off of.
Yeah.
If people don't get it, we rely on data centers because they keep all of our stuff going.
Yes.
Even the studio right now, there's data centers on data centers running everything. If it's our separate one, our designated one, or there's a data center running the internet.
Yeah, and you know
All
what?
that.
I'm so glad that the Master King brought up the data center thing, because I missed that. Let's go back to basic capacity. The first thing that you have to have is a room.
Yep.
You got to have a data center. And that's it. I'm not talking about having shoes in there and purses, and I'm going to hang my jackets in
Not
here
in
too.
the closet.
No, just a pure data center. That is the first requirement from the Uptime Institute. If you don't have
Location.
that, if you don't have that, they fail you immediately.
Agreed.
Okay, YouTube EV fan. What runtime do hospitals or military or other essentials use? I can imagine so many batteries.
I do both. I have customers on both ends. I have hospitals and some militaries. And again, it goes back to that question and the answer of it all depends what they're trying to power on and connect to for the hospital. Hospitals don't have one UPS. They have a number, multiple.
We all know why that is.
Yeah, they have. And because they go into every thing that they can. For a big one for hospitals is, me and you've spoken about this, is the bio room, the biomedical, where there's an x-ray.
Oh, yeah.
A hospital does not have someone in another room. The UPS is right next to it somewhere, connected for the x-ray, for the CAT scan, for whatever that machine is. Hospital has that type of functionality, and then they'll have it for the structure, and then for facilities, and for other means, for surgeries.
Yeah.
But for the high crucial, like surgery rooms and biomedicals, UPSs are designated as the one, as a specific UPS for that specific machine.
Right.
And for military, same concept, same idea. Yes, I have a military base where the batteries, probably like
too many to count.
15, 20,000 single cell batteries within that one location.
Exactly.
So you are correct. It can be many batteries and many battery modules and a number of UPS units. So yes, those essential places, they do carry a lot, but it's all designated for what their multiple uses and for where they're trying to put it in.
Right. Let me give you a couple of examples just back on the Uptime Institute. The Boeing Flight Simulation Center in Miami.
Wow.
I've been there twice. It's a customer of ours, and we replaced 2 500 kVA units.
Did they fly you in on their private jet?
I wish
they did.
I wish they would have. But you know what?
That's when I want to go on site visits. When it's a private jet involved, I'll go on those.
Well, you're gonna have to talk to who about that one. Yeah.
Yep, I got you.
That's above my pay grade. I can't authorize that.
Thank God we're friends.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, hey, remember me?
Yeah, but this flight simulator, I actually went there and got inside of one of these, and what it is this is where all the pilots, all the jet pilots come and train.
Wow.
Okay, there's 2 buildings. They have the 767, the 747. And the pilots come, I'm not sure what the frequency is, but they come here and train from all over the world. We sold them 2. We replaced 2 of their large units, put them in, and we were scratching our heads earlier this week. I was talking to the account manager, Justin, and I go, I can't remember. Do they have a generator? We're talking the Flight Simulation Center for Boeing.
Wow.
And we think they do, but if my memory serves me correctly, I don't think they do. So if that's
Even
the case,
asking that question, isn't that crazy for
exactly,
Boeing?
exactly. You know, if that's the case, then they're not even at basic capacity.
Wow,
So imagine
that's
if,
scary.
and they have lost power. I can remember one of the times because they had an old UPS in there that was going out on them. They lost power. They had to cancel all the training sessions that they had for the next week while they were working.
Can you find out for me? Because I won't fly until I know they got some backup.
No, yeah, yeah. I mean, they have
The
it
generator.
Now. Yeah. I'm not for sure. We're still working with that customer on that.
That's wild.
And then the other area, which was the complete opposite of what I just talked to you about, was the Hurricane Watch Center in Miami, Florida. I remember going in there. I got a tour. They were a customer of ours. The first room they took me in was the monitor room. Do you know how many monitors were up on the wall? 50. There were 50 of them, huge monitors, and there were probably 50 people in there, and all they were doing was looking at these screens. And then they showed me their infrastructure that supports that. They were at 4N.
Wow, 4N.
4N. I walked in their generator room. There were 4 generators.
You answered that guy's question.
This place is fault tolerant.
Backup for the backup.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You cannot go down.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Millions and millions and millions of dollar investment in there, though.
Yeah, for that. I mean, they probably hired one person per screen.
Yes, exactly.
50 people, 50 screens. Like, you're just going to watch TV all day. Yeah. There's all types of, and that's what I love about this industry. To bring it back a little bit too, is so many different types of customers, so many different type of people that, and customers and clients that need a UPS, and it's not a one size fits all. And that's the best answer to when you ask about military hospitals. It's not a one size fits all. And that's what's so great about UPS is you can customize it with component and modular, and you can cater to the customer what they need.
That's right.
And that's what I love about UPS. You can do that at a really high scale.
Yeah, and what's cool too is that we're in a mixed vendor environment.
Yep.
So the complexity of what we deal with is tremendous. I tell people all the time, I go, if you want to get educated on this industry, Gruber is the place to work, because it's a different scenario, a different game every single day when I come to work. It's fun because I'm into education and learning, that kind of thing.
I love some of the, I told my kid when I'm like, hey, guess what? I quoted Disneyland. What?
Exactly, yeah.
They don't know what, but they get very excited when I have a customer like Disneyland. I'm like, they're not going to give me free tickets, but I quoted them something.
Don't let me get going on Disneyland. I'm not going to say anything.
No. That's a customer that I've ran into one way or another, but it's really cool, the market that we can facilitate to, and we can service and take care of.
I feel the same way about the teddy bear factory.
That's awesome.
I do.
That's a great one.
That place is amazing in Vermont. There's only one location, and it's our customer.
Make a clawed teddy bear?
Yes, I've actually been there. I watched
Did you
them.
buy one?
No, I didn't buy one. I bought a souvenir. But but it's a full-scale operation.
It's amazing.
And you know what they had supporting it?
UPS?
They had a PX.
APC.
PX supporting it.
That's my APC is my go-to.
Yeah, so look at that. Great question there from the Master King. What type of battery requires the most maintenance? We all know what that one is. That is the wet cell.
Yep.
That's a messy maintenance opportunity when you're doing wet cells, because you have to manually fill these things. They're very heavy. You have to wear a lot of PPE to protect yourself from the sulfuric acid that may be, in the air, that type of thing. That's one of the reasons why they went the VRLA, because it's closed. Those gases don't escape like they would do in a wet cell.
Yeah, wet cell is and you have to learn more on it. We can that's some great segments to have here to educate between wet cell, VRLA, and lithium. Yeah, those are really great to understand more when you delve into that. So that's it's
just make sure you make sure you have a huge fire extinguisher.
Oh man.
Okay. That's all I got to say with the
lead acid with
the lithium.
Lithium's a different story.
I've got a slide.
Lithium.
I'm not going to put the slide on, but I got a slide.
Lithium's a different story. That's a different beast when it comes to battery. It's a phenomenal.
Excuse me, we're not going to tolerate any lithium slander over here.
I didn't. It's not my expertise. I wouldn't go into that. I know it's a different beast in the sense that it comes with a lot. I don't know it, so I'm not going to touch on that.
A lot.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So YouTube, Louisa, Onita, Elvis. No question here, just a comment. Your baby sis is proud of you. You have a great work ethic and a wonderful dedication to what you do. Oh, that's so sweet.
That's sweet. Yeah. Think
Yeah,
I'm wearing
really.
glasses. She doesn't see the tears.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a heartfelt moment.
Why don't you-
I text her to say that.
Yeah. Why don't you read the next one because it's from
love
her
her.
too.
Yeah. Oh, I do have a question. See, she did. She always make fun of me that I talk so much, but now she's learning something for once from me. Do you only cater to commercial customers or also smaller consumers, personal homes, etc.? We do cater to smaller businesses and homes, and I call it off-grid. A lot of people that want to do for their homes, they kind of want to get off the grid. So, yeah, I have a few customers. I have a customer in Jersey, and it's his home, and it's a 2-story, and it's for his elevator because of a special needs handicap.
Yeah.
So because of that, he has that on a designated UPS.
That's
so
cool.
So we do to a lot of homes and in what their purpose and need is. But yes, I usually put them in the category of off grid. They want to get a UPS, so they stay off the electric and they want to go more solar and UPS.
Yeah. And
yes, we do.
Yeah, and the plug and play UPS is perfect for that residential.
If my
solution.
sister needs one, I'll give her a family discount. Right? I'm already working.
Yeah.
Okay. This
we have,
is funny.
Yeah, so
The
we have
next
another,
one.
yeah, we have another comment from Eat Sleep Movies. If it's too bright in your studio, you could turn the lights down so you don't have to wear sunglasses. Just saying, here we go. We knew that one
the
would come up.
sunglasses situation's coming up.
Yeah, we get that one every now and then, and we like to have fun with it. That's part of our little motif. Pete Gruber started it with his podcast in GMC. And by the way, he does a phenomenal podcast on Sunday. It's an AI podcast. I encourage you to watch that too. And we want to be all over the board on that podcast, just people from varying opinions on it, because I certainly have my own opinion on AI.
Yeah, but even the Gruber Motor side that they run is phenomenal. It's very educational and it's very groundbreaking because I'm learning a lot because I'm into cars, but Tesla is still something I'm delving and learning into.
And they have
phenomenal.
And they have a much prettier product.
Oh yeah,
you know, people.
That's a good looking
you put
car.
a nice, like the guy commented on the car right there. You put that car on a picture and put it there. Somebody's going to click on that. You know, so the sunglasses are because the future is bright. That's awesome.
There we go, Steve.
That's great.
You said light sensitivity. No, I'm just trying to be more like the Terminator. I'm trying to be more like him. I'm trying to be like Arnold. He's always wearing them. I don't wear shades indoors, but for today I will. When I saw Arnold in Terminator, he wore them all the time for his cyborg eyes. Yeah. So I was like, I'm gonna pull an Arnold today. I don't have the physique, but I'll pull on the shades.
You know what this guy called me before we got him involved with this podcast, when he was watching one of these things. He said that I look just like Morpheus on the Matrix. I'm like, what?
Hey, that's a good.
Morpheus.
That's a great.
I mean, is that cool?
That is, he's a big deal. He right.
Yeah,
right, Jesse. Morpheus.
He trained the one. He knows it all.
Yeah,
really?
He trained the one. So you're training me. I'm the one.
Okay,
Lucky
there
us.
you go. There you go.
But that's what I said. You look like Morpheus. I'm all for it.
Wow,
You
that's
said
pretty
I'm wearing.
cool.
Look at the next comment. That's a great one.
Yeah, I'm wearing mine right now. Thought it was mandatory. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, another comment from Eat Sleep Movies. I thought it was because you guys are using Tesla headlights for your lighting.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know.
Well, there was another topic that we wanted to hit, and we are about 2.5 minutes out from concluding the podcast. I'm not sure if we want to delve into it because there's like 6 steps, and it's UPS generator harmony. How critical it is when the UPS transfers over to generator. That time period has to be smooth. And there's a bunch of variables around making that syncing transition
Working
smooth.
together, harmonization. You weren't talking about like eHarmony or some other. Okay.
No eHarmony.
Just want to make sure. So our panel's like, what are they talking about? That's a different transition.
Exactly.
It's the harmonization, the working together, collaboration between those two. Because we already mentioned it. Even though you could talk about it more in the next podcast. We already mentioned it with when I was talking about UPS and generators, or UPS and UPS.
Stands for what? UPS, just for our audience, UPS stands for what?
Well, I've heard it so many different ways.
Uninterruptible
power
systems. Yes.
Correct. So everyone said everything. Steve still thinks we're talking about shipping equipment, but UPS is uninterruptible power systems. I've heard power supplies, but it is power systems. It's a UPS power system that contains batteries that will keep you on keep your equipment going. That's what the UPS is.
Right.
And yeah, those 6 points are really important to understand and go into the harmony, because people still don't know. They know generator, and some know UPS, some don't. So it's still a really important conversation to have.
Okay. Well, I'd like to say, to our audience, we would like to get any feedback that you might have from the podcast. We're also looking for ideas or suggestions on how to make it better. I would also like to thank our special guest, Elvis. I really appreciate.
I thought you were going to say AI Pete.
Yeah.
But I'll take that.
Okay. I really appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having me. It was awesome.
It was a spur of the moment type thing. You jumped right in. You did a phenomenal job. I think our audience would agree with that.
I flew in my Boeing private jet straight from Chicago just for you.
Yeah, he's from Chi-Town.
Yeah.
Chi-Town. That's where you grew
years.
up. Yeah, and
raised
you know what?
there.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not. That's not easy to do. I mean, you grew up in. You told me your history. I'm not going to go into that, but and here you are in the Valley of the Sun. I think it's awesome.
This is the right place to have a UPS, because everything's burning and going. You're going to need a lot of equipment to go here.
Exactly.
So it's a good place to be.
Okay. So with that, we're going to say goodbye. We hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.